Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to Hey Girlfriend. The title of this video will be Accept the Invitation to Heal and Become. The journey was one I had to take alone. Okay, along the way, God allowed me to identify the roots of my wounds. They ran deep, okay? Childhood trauma, abandonment issues, the spirit of rejection. Life had battered and bruised me, and it was a life I never chose, okay? But eventually, I got tired. Tired of surviving, tired of carrying pain, tired of living beneath who God created me to be. Listen, child, that's when I accepted the invitation to heal and become. And if I'm honest, the invitation had been sitting on my spiritual coffee table for a long time, okay? Like many of us, I kept looking at it without responding. And we often wait until the last minute to RSVP for anything, and especially to anything God is calling us into. When I finally accepted the invitation, I realized I couldn't take everything and everybody with me. I had to lay down the pain that had become so familiar, okay? I had to make the decision that I no longer wanted to bleed on people who never wounded me. Whoo, my God. I had to forgive my parents for planting the deeply rooted seed of abandonment when I was 8 years old. I had to forgive people who never apologized. I had to release those who mislabeled me, who misjudged me, who overlooked me, and failed to see my worth. Most importantly, I had to heal the little girl I never had a chance to be. And this came from I felt like raising my siblings as a child in elementary school. But as God began restoring me, I realized the spirit of rejection had been quietly influencing so many areas of my life. It showed up as people pleasing. It convinced me to live and accept less than God's best. It fueled self-sabotage, my God, because deep down I believed I was undeserving of more. Healing had exposed, my God, what had been hidden. But it also revealed who I had always been in God's eyes. So I say this today: accept the invitation. Accept the invitation to heal and become. It's worth it. It's freeing. Healing doesn't erase the story, okay? It redeems it. It redeems it. We serve a redeeming God, okay? The pen is in the Redeemer's hand, so he can erase and rewrite whatever needs to be rewritten, okay? You'll see yourself the way God has always saw you. You'll discover your true identity and purpose. You'll lay down burdens you were never meant to carry. You'll stop competing with others because you'll be secure in who God created you to be. You'll stop settling because you'll finally understand your value. You'll walk taller, not because life became easier, but because you're no longer carrying the weight of yesterday. My Lord, hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus, okay? You'll become whole, not because you're perfect, listen, but because you're surrendered. You surrendered everything, every piece to the one who makes all things new. So, hey, girlfriend, do me a favor. Please, 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 do me a favor, okay? Accept the invitation. The invitation is still on the table. Heaven is waiting for your RSVP. Will you accept the invitation and RSVP to your next? Because this type of healing is a doorway to so much more. And what I realized in even preparing for church on Sunday, wisdom is necessary. And wisdom builds character. And until you discover wisdom and until you discover who you are, you'll never fully walk into what you're actually called to, okay? And in this, God has illuminated so much to me, okay? And I won't lie. I was afraid. I was to even accept it or even speak some things out loud that was being revealed to me, like my purpose, when I had laid things down, he was literally revealing purpose to me because again, was open. I was ready, and I was surrendered to the divine order, walking in his will, and that's another thing, staying in his will because it's so, so important. So many times I wanted to do things the way Candace wanted to do things, but I realized when I laid down Candace's will, God's will was able to prevail in my life. And I realized I started thriving. He started doing things and stuff started coming to pass that he was actually speaking in my life. And I'll share this. For about a year, I was going through some stuff on my job. And he had asked me in the beginning, will you do this with me? And me being me, I'm like, yeah, God. But he was showing me along the way the enemy's plan. And while I didn't know all that was going to happen, my reputation was tarnished, my work ethic was tarnished. But God has a way of showing up and doing things the way that he wants to do things, okay? And he showed me that he was like, you're going to get paid. So I'm thinking, okay, a big settlement check. But no, baby. I serve a God who will bless you in increments. Bless you in increments. And what the enemy thought would harm me or hurt me, actually God used for my good, baby. Because he kept, even while just sitting still. And it was during this season, for 7 months, I literally sat still. And every day hoping something would come, something would change, he would do something drastic. But he just kept saying, be still and know, be still and know, be still and know. And as I sat still and I was able to be still and know, I was able to study his word. I was able to go deeper in consecration. I was able to really find myself. And even in then, where he placed me at, he was like, I'm going to put you on display. Okay, God, let me make sure I look fabulous every day, though. And he would send the people, and I was able to testify, and I was able to witness to people who knew him, but he would give me a word literally every day. And I made connections to the point where even though I work for this company, I would have never met certain people. But God has a way of aligning you and putting you in rooms and in spaces where he will be glorified. And those 7 months, he was glorified. So, and in glorifying him and being obedient, let me say this: obedience has a domino effect. Okay, so being obedient, he blessed me. Okay, and even till this day, literally till this day, again, what the enemy thought was going to hurt me, he actually promoted me. He actually gave me more. He gave me increase. And he said, we are in a season, okay, where we are about to see some things come to pass because we serve a I got you, God. And what I said shall come to pass. What I have established shall come to pass. It is so. It is so. Okay? So all I got to say is accept the invitation. And Saturday night, as I kept rewriting, he's like, no, I need you to be raw. I need you to testify. I need you to understand because you've gotten the clarity, Candace. You are qualified, Candace. I have equipped you, Candace. So I just come by today to tell somebody to show up and accept that invitation. Rsvp for your season of healing in order to become, because he is a God that does all things well. He is a God that will use everything for your good. He is the God that will show up in the wilderness, okay? And as I studied Deuteronomy last week, he is the God. What blessed me was when he was like, even in the wilderness, I never let your feet swell, nor did I let your clothes look raggedy. He is a God that will bless you even in the wilderness. And you know that saying, thank God I don't look like what I'm going through? That's exactly what that meant to me. And all I could do was go into worship and praise because he's been so, so good. So, so good. He's done more than I've ever expected, okay? More than I've ever expected. He has sustained what he created, okay? And when he said, will you go through this with me? Even in the wilderness, he was there. So the fact that he took me here and he kept saying, Candace, I need you to testify. Candace, I need you to testify. And I'm thinking maybe a little devotional here and there. I need you to testify. So what I'm saying is, we are about to open up the line for testimony service, okay? God is about to do so much in this season if you trust him. But first, you got to show up for your season of in the wilderness of healing and becoming. No, it's not easy. No, it's not glamorous. And I will be honest with you. There were so many times I wanted to give up. There were so many times I felt alone, because I didn't have physical presence, but the Lord was always there. There were nights where I literally cried, okay? And I'm like, Lord, I need a comforter. I need somebody to wrap their arms around me because I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can survive. And the warfare had amplified so much. And I literally was in it with God, but physically by myself. Okay? And he had limited my social life. Okay? There was a point for months. Only person that I saw was my niece. Only person I spent time with was my family. And it was like, he said, what did he say? You're under protective custody. Only authorized personnel can be allowed in. Okay, and I'm like, what does that mean? But what it looked like was, I need my time with you. I need you to show up. I need you to be intentional. I need you to be consistent, just like I am when it comes to you. I am consistent. I am intentional about my children. So the Lord is saying today, will you show up? Will you show up? Will you RSVP to that invitation that has been sitting on your table, your spiritual coffee table? He's knocking again. The reminder is coming up again. Will you RSVP? Will you say yes? Will you say yes to his will? Will you say yes to his way? Will you say yes to the wilderness? Will you say, yes, God, I trust you. Yes, God, I believe you, even when it doesn't look like something is happening. Will you trust him? Will you believe him? Will you show up, even when it gets hard? Even when there's nobody that you feel can hold you at night? Will you show up and trust that I can be the paraclete? I can be the comforter. I do all things well. In every season, every test, every trial, work is working for your good. But you won't see it that way until you change your perspective, okay? Change your perspective on how you see things. Look for God in everything. And just like Job, me and my prayer partner study Job, okay? And even in the first 2 chapters, when I got to the end of the first chapter, after Job had lost literally everything in the first chapter, Job's response was, Lord, here I am naked before you. I stretch my hands to thee. I surrender to you, O God. Okay? Will you surrender? Will you give it all to him, even if he took everything away? I've gone through a Job season many times in my life, but you know what? It was my doing. And it wasn't until I realized sometimes we cause things. We are the ones who cause trials and tribulations in our lives. However, I say that to say, be like Job. Back to Job. Job worshiped God. That was his first response, and it brought me to tears because I'm like, my God, he lost everything. Not a job, not a car, not a house. He lost his entire family. Job was known as the greatest man, okay? The greatest man at this time. And he literally lost everything. Job was the intercessor for his family. Will you stand in the gap for your family? He surrendered and was naked before God. God can't heal what you don't really truly lay down in front of him. So will you allow God to fully heal you? Will you allow God to do what only he can do? Will you allow him to perform the surgery? Will you allow him to circumcise your heart? Will you allow him to cleanse your hands? Will you allow him to regulate those thoughts? Will you allow him to order your steps? My Lord, I can't. Will you allow him is what I keep saying. What I keep hearing, I'm sorry. Will you allow him? Will you allow him? Will you allow him? Will you release? Will you release that thing that you keep gripping on really, really tight to? Will you release it? Will you give him your family and praying that you will be recommitted to him and you'll be recommitted to each other? Will you give him that trial and that tribulation? Will you give him that heartbreak that is hindering you from moving forward? Will you give him, oh my God, the mental anguish that's attacking you at night? Give it to him. Give it to Jesus. My God, give it to Jesus. But will you allow him to do what he can do? He is the ultimate physician. He is, my God, the ultimate surgeon. He's the only one that can remove a rib, okay, without you even feeling hurt. My God, come on in here, Adam. But he can do all things well. My God, and sometimes it don't even take a long time. We prolong the seasons. We prolong the blessings. We delay and we hinder and we block. My God, but God is like, will you allow me to do what I do? Will you allow it? Will you give it to me? Will you release it? And you know, my son, he's 19, he'll be 20 this year, and Justin is my only child, okay? And I'm going to be honest. He decided to not come back home after high school. And for me, I'm like, okay, but I kind of always knew that would be Justin. And I had a hard time of letting go. You know, I felt like I raised him well, but God is like, give him to me and trust that I got him. And I said, okay, God, I'll give him to you. But when he stopped checking in, or when he stopped answering my text messages or answering my calls, I had to realize that was me releasing him to God, to allow God to do what God needs to do in Justin's life in order for Justin to become who Justin needs to be. And it's not that I stopped parenting or stopped being his mom, but it's like we can't say, and that's how we do sometimes. We'll pray and we'll say we landed on the altar, we giving it to Jesus, but are we really, really, really releasing it? Sometimes we partly release. You know, we want to pray about it but keep our hand on it. Or we want to plant the seed but keep going back every day. You know, some things have to grow under the surface first before you see the evidence. My God, before you see the evidence. But what I hear him saying is, Candace, my people don't understand that they're already walking in answered prayers. But because it wasn't drastic or because it wasn't big, they feel like, oh, God didn't show up for me. You are the evidence. You are the proof, my God, that God is a God who does all, that can do miraculous, you know. And it's like, even though the blessing may not be drastic, even though it may not be big, God shows up. God answers. And sometimes it's not always what we need. I mean, what we want is what we need. And I'll say this. While in this season, you know, and I can kind of feel when it was over, or I wanted it to be over, and I'm like, Lord, I need a companion, you know. And he sent me a prayer partner, okay? He said, I'm going to give you that companion, but in a different way. And the way that we pour into each other, it's genuine love, you know, but I don't have to compromise in order to get the love and get the pouring and get what I need to pretty much survive that day, or to make it through that day is what I'll say. And when I pray, I'm grateful for her because she was obedient to God concerning me. And I'm about to tear up. But she was obedient to God concerning me, and it was during the time where I felt like, when I tell you I felt alone because I had been through so much in such a short span of time. And what I realized is, when I said yes to God, I didn't know that he would do some exposing, he would do some removing, he would do some sifting and some shifting, you know. And it's like that, back to allowing God to do what only God can do. And this video wasn't even supposed to be 19 minutes, but I just really want to say, show up. Rsvp. Wake up, stand up, pray and contend for what God said you can have. You know, a lot of times we want things to be handed to us because we are in a microwave society, you know, and we have become so entitled where we don't feel like we should have to wait for anything, or we should have to really work for anything. And that's not the way that this works. This is something that I had to learn too, you know. All because you was faithful in one season doesn't mean necessarily that, okay, all the blessings are going to come in the next season. No. Like they say, every new level, new devils, every new level, every blessing, every promise given, it opens another level as well. So the deeper you go in God, the more you grow, the deeper your faith becomes, and it's like I had to adapt the attitude that kind of like on layaway. It's on layaway. You are going through certain things in order to, like, as a down payment, as a payment plan or a down payment for what you already know is yours. But until it's paid in full, you can't have it. You can't take it out the store. So God has to know that you can handle, or you will steward certain responsibilities, steward certain blessings well. Yes, He has to know that you will be able to do that, because He's not going to give you something that you don't have the capacity to steward well. That's just the reality of it. So yeah, I pray that this video helps somebody. I pray that it blesses you. And I pray that, somebody has the strength to share their testimony, the strength to endure the wilderness, the strength to say yes, fully say yes to God, and mean it. That's the thing. We have so many false starts. It's say yes and mean it. Say yes and mean it. Say yes and mean it. Yeah, that's it. God bless y'all. And remember to cherish your godly girlfriends. Peace and good night.